Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says he did not authorize the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, that is KEMSA, to make payments worth billions of shillings to suppliers through unscrupulous tenders. While appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Health, Kagwe was, however, put to task for failing to produce the ministry's internal audit report on KEMSA, which is being investigated by the EACC for the loss of taxpayers' money worth billions of shillings. NTV's Seth Olale has that report.
Hours after NTV Investigates highlighted the rotting procurement at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA, Health CS Mutahi Kagwe, who appeared before the National Assembly Committee on Health over COVID-19 funds expenditure, seemed to endorse the findings.
These are people who have got their own individual interests. And there are people, Mr. Chairman, I think you would be burying our heads to the ground like the proverbial ostrich if we pretended that they are not there. Because they are individuals also. Individuals of their personal interest in this form. In the form that some people trade with the KEMSA and may or may not be getting the kind of deals that they are looking for. There are individuals, Mr. Chairman, whose companies directly or indirectly operate at KEMSA, and it is a fact of life, and it is a factor in Chapter 6, is against Chapter 6, and it is a fact.
While further throwing KEMSA under the bus, the CS clarified that he did not give KEMSA instructions to reward and pay questionable suppliers tenders for COVID-19 related supplies. Later in the day, the CS, who has often been referred to as public relations man, owing to his ventures in that field, took to his Facebook page to appreciate the work of the Nation Media Group and NTV's Special Projects Editor, Dennis Okari. The Afya House boss was further put to task for failing to initiate an independent audit on KEMSA and consequently recommend prosecution of top managers.
That showed that there was a massive theft of public funds. So maybe that is what he should table and tell us. We did our own internal audit, our own internal investigations, and based on these we found that the KEMSA boss could not give an account of the monies that were given him. It is based on that investigation, internal investigation, that we called them multi-agencies, investigative arms of government, to come and do that. I believe it was not just from the bruise that he said, kamatao, shikao.
It's a question of responsibility and it's a question of the constitutional mandate to audit. The constitutional mandate to audit any document, any expenditure of money in this country is purely on two institutions.
According to the Ministry of Health, KEMSA received 1.5 billion shillings for the provision of testing kits and reagents and a further 300 million shillings for the procurement of reusable masks to vulnerable people. In addition, a further 800 million shillings was disbursed to KEMSA in form of medical supplies.
The Ministry of Health does not micromanage institutions. Let us also be clear. We don't micromanage. We don't micromanage the board. We don't micromanage MOI. We don't micromanage Kenyatta National Hospital. Otherwise, it will be impossible.
With investigations by EACC still ongoing, NTV has obtained a communication from KEMSA board chairman Kembi Gitura asking the then chief executive Jonah Manjari to sign a contract for a tender that was subject to EACC investigations. The letter reads in part, and I quote, "My position is that the EACC has absolutely no role to play in the execution of the contract, and your letter aforesaid will only cause undue delay and was not in the least necessary to write." With no clear sign of the COVID-19 pandemic curve flattening anytime soon, the Ministry of Health says it will require additional funding in order to adequately contain the disease. Seth Olale, NTV at Parliament Buildings, Nairobi County.